Good evening, everyone. Welcome to LFC Transfer Room. I'm here tonight, joined by Stu, Carter, and Tom, to discuss not much else outside of the win yesterday, because that was impressive yet again from the Reds, 3-0 at Old Trafford. Now, me personally, I was a bit anxious about it because, that's how it is. United at Old Trafford, I thought it's never an easy fixture, even though we've trashed them a few times in the past few seasons. But it's been, I think, outside of the first 15 minutes, it's been smooth sailing, really. Maybe they've had some chances after the game was pretty much already done. But all of that we're going to get into a bit later. Appreciate everyone who's on here. Make sure to like, subscribe to the channel, and of course, leave your comments in the chat there as well. We love to take some comments and integrate them into these conversations. Good evening to you, Odin. Get some gods with us today. Stu, how's your evening, mate?
Very good, very good. Still buzzing after yesterday. Really, no complaints about it. And it's a good win when the buzz is still lasting, like sort of 24 hours afterwards. It's not been like a spawny, lucky win, or you struggled to the result. It was a super impressive all-round performance, and absolutely no complaints from me whatsoever.
I guess we've gone one season without battering United, and it's been missed already. It's like, every time we're playing them, I'm saying we've already beat them like 4-0, 5-0, 7-0. So it's like I don't even want anything more than just the 3 points. But whenever there's a match like the one yesterday, you just enjoying it. You just enjoying it.
I saw something before. I think somebody I can't remember whether it was in our chat or on Twitter. Somebody had done a calculation on what our aggregate score is against Man United for the last 11 Premier League games, and it's 29 goals to 7. That's domination as far as I'm concerned.
And with a certain Egyptian king scoring 11 out of those, if I'm yeah. Where will Slot go from here? Hopefully, we'll keep this pace up, but we're fine with this pace. Like, if we keep winning and getting clean sheets in pretty much every game, then we're fine. But we're going to get into, obviously, a bit more in-depth into it a bit later. Tom, how about you, mate? Can you?
Yeah, can't complain, can you? Never. I'm back. Yeah, never tired of beating them lot. Obviously, they've kind of ruined our season last year, so we kind of owed them one, and we fully gave them one. So yeah, absolutely made up with that, and long may it continue, both ways.
It's been a pretty good evening for us all, having it, wasn't it? Sorry, Carter, mate, how are you? How's your evening?
Yeah, it's good. Just enjoying some of the last bits of the warm weather in England before it goes back to being raining every other day. And yeah, just high spirits after the game. I'm kind of the opposite of you, Mihai, in the sense of I've had the displeasure of watching the 2 previous Man United games. And honestly, they could have lost to Fulham. They lost to Brighton. And I honestly thought, I was like, as long as we don't panic, we'll easily beat these. So I was very confident yesterday. And as you all were, I was very chuffed with the result. Good, all the clips coming out, all the Ten Hag getting pressured by the interviewer in the press conference, Jamie Carragher in the gantry. I just thought it was a great game and great interviews and stuff afterwards as well.
It's always like that. When I remember, whenever we'd get like a result where I remember when we lost to United 2-1 in the league in that third game week, I think it was 2 years ago. I remember I went on social media and just snoozed every single news outlet just to not see anything about that game for like at least 1 or 2 days. But now it's like you can't stop consuming any sort of media on it, can you? But yeah, it's, we're not going to get ahead of ourselves. Obviously, it's just the third game of the season, but it's been a lot better than we were hoping for. I mean, for me personally, at least, I said it before the season that I don't want us to get ahead of ourselves and just, I'm okay with not challenging for the league this season and just getting top 4. And I think for me, that kind of stays the target. I'm not going to get ahead of her. I'd like to, just stay in that boat right now. and just thought they were going to get that. But it's been Stu, 3 clean sheets in our first 3 games of the season, after last season where we've been struggling defensively. We've been conceding lots of chances, to be honest.
Yeah.
Getting this now, it feels like a breath of fresh air, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, definitely. As you alluded to, we conceded quite a lot, and we had that horrendous record where we were consistently conceding first and having to work our way back into the game a goal down. That, wherever that thing went from last season, it seems to have gone, thankfully. And Slot has worked that one out, and his coaching team worked that one out extremely quickly during the preseason, especially with the staggered return of the players because of international competitions. I think a lot of credit has to go to him and the coaching staff they brought in. And I would go as far to say also the higher ups in the boardroom. But at this point in time, it's looking a very shrewd move in going for Slot and seeing a manager there that could use this. I'm going to say almost complete squad. There are still some areas that we need to fill in. Let's not hide from that. But with what they obviously looked and found a manager that can work with what he's got in a similar sort of style, but just a little bit more tapered, and it's worked perfectly so far. And I said the same thing about Gravenberch as well. If he could play as a number 6, the bigger test will come in the bigger derby matches and so on and so forth. Well, he's passed that first test. Big derby match against Man United at Old Trafford. Absolutely sailed through it. In fact, personally was my man of the match. So, yeah, it's all looking pretty good at the moment, to be fair. It's been a nice surprise. Just put it that way.
Indeed. And when I was writing the description for the video, I was thinking it's not necessarily the best time for an international break. Sorry, I can't get my words out.
Oh, I hate internationals.
Yeah, it's not really the best time for it, but it's pretty much the best way to get into one, isn't it? Like it's at least 2 weeks. We know when you go into an international break, but with a defeat, it feels like it's even worse than it actually is. But yeah, Tom, what can you even say? I was thinking about it before, going live. I was thinking, is there someone who didn't play well yesterday? Because it felt like everyone did their job at least by a decent level.
Yeah, I agree. To be fair, don't think Jota had a great game. Don't think he was really involved. Don't think he contributed much. So maybe he wasn't great. Sabo as well. That chance towards the end was quite frustrating. Where he should have just put it in, and he tried to be clever. That was a bit frustrating. But he still had a good game, some nice touches. But yeah, I think apart from Jota, everyone had a good game, to be honest. Can't fault any of them, really, can you? 3-0 at Old Trafford. It's hard to have any complaints, to be honest.
Indeed, I was actually thinking about Szoboszlai yesterday when we were on the match reaction video. Dan said that he thinks Szoboszlai was in top 3. It was for him, man of the match was like Gravenberch, Diaz, and Szoboszlai. And I was thinking, was he really now? After a win like this, you don't want to go and kind of pick and choose performances and just concentrate on the negatives. But honestly, I couldn't say he was that impressive yesterday. It was a bit annoying that he didn't score and the Jota didn't score with that chance that he had as well in the second. But I feel like as well as Mo said, could have been 5-6, but we'll take the 3-0. Hopefully that's good enough for now. Carter, I was watching that in the beginning. I was a bit nervy, mainly because at Old Trafford, having Taylor as the ref, I just felt like it was never going to be an easy day. But lads were just too good, weren't they?
I honestly, I think it's a bit of both. I think we can be a lot better than we were yesterday, but I also think we did play well. I think Man United are a bit terrible. I think as long as we come and do our thing, we'll beat them. And I'd honestly say for me, I think I think the player that could have sort of I was least impressed with, I'm going to say, is McAllister. I think if you look at the maps, he was the deepest, and I think he's the one who's supposed to set the tempo, control the game, and it was still quite up and down for me. I think if that's the guy who's supposed to control the team and sort of this is when we speed it up, this is when we slow it down, I'm just going to turn around and play it back. I think he was objectively fine, but I think when I watch him play this role, I think someone else could do it a bit better, like someone who we might go back for in January who plays in the Basque region. I think he might offer something that improves us a bit more, like the whole performance. Like I think it was still up and down a bit more than I'd like. And I'm actually going to argue for Soboslai. I think what he offers, I think Gravenberch was the best player on the pitch. But I think Soboslai, just constant running, like I was watching the game with my dad and was like, we're going to have to take him off at some point because this is just ridiculous. Every single game, full length sprints. He's barging people, he's knocking into people. I think he had the most recoveries. He had like the second most chances created. And I do agree. I think that shot, if we're 0-0, I think there'd be some issue with the chance. But I think when you're 3-0 up, sometimes you try and be a bit smart. You try and I'm just going to take a touch and I'm going to put it in on my stronger foot. So I think, yeah, I was just really happy with everything yesterday. And yeah, I'm going to back Soba. I think he was quite good.
I think I'm gonna follow your lead and I'm gonna back McAllister. His defensive game yesterday was amazing. Like a lot of recoveries, a lot of interceptions, and then on the third goal as well. To me, like the absolute funniest thing was, okay, see, I'm not English, so I don't know how it feels there in England, but I just can't get the hype for Kobe Mainu, which I mean, I feel like, okay, he's a good DM, right? And for his age, he's great, I guess. But I just feel like if you weren't playing for United, you wouldn't have all the hype around him. And yesterday, he was exposed. You had Maka, who's not a DM. You have Gravenberch, who's not a DM, who's morphing into one. And they were just running the show. And he had like, I mean, I get that Casemiro had a bad game, but then you couldn't say Casemiro necessarily has lack of experience in playing big matches or anything like that. So I think the fact that we've dominated them like that, with them having the Casemiro, who's won like 5 Champions Leagues, and the new golden boy, dominating them like that with a double pivot with Maka and Gravenberch was just immense.
I actually agree with you on that. Not so much about Mainu. I think the problem is, and we do have this issue in England a lot, when a new kid comes on the block and he storms in out of nowhere, the club and also the media get hold of that and they just plug him and plug him and plug him and just build it up and build it up. And Mainu is, I'm going to speak of this objectively, is a good player. And I think he will be a class DM. But then again, he is still only 19. Man United are in such a bad state at the moment. They're the ones that are grasping to Mainu to be like sort of the new star to propel them a little bit. And I know I'm not talking out my ass about this because I've spoken to other Man United fans and they say exactly the same thing. They are trying to find some sort of identity, and what they're trying to grab hold of now with Mainu is his star level. But he's still only 19, and the lad's having all this shoved on his shoulders. It's not fair. I think the people they got to be looking at is the likes of their captain, Fernandes. I still don't understand how he's club captain, but hey-ho. It's more to our benefit because he has a sulk. Van Dijk tickles his neck, pats him on the head and says, there, it's okay. And we all laugh about it and we win the game, so it's all good.
Yeah, no, to me, the one thing that, I got it at the beginning. When I heard Fernandes was going to be the captain, I thought, well, in terms of footballing ability, I get it because he's probably their best player. I say so, yeah, at the moment. But still, he's just a little rat, isn't he? And he's just like every single game he moans. And then I remember the 7-0. He was captain for United in that game as well, if I remember. He was asking to be taken off. That to me just screams that you're not captain. For me, the fact that he stayed captain after the game was just disgraceful for United.
Couldn't agree more.
As you said, We'll take it. We will enjoy it.
Yep.
It's not a problem.
Nope.
So yeah. One thing that I wanted to get into, I've actually saved this this comment from Haler. We've talked a lot about Gravenberch as well, a lot during maybe not that much during preseason, but ever since the season started. In that match preview against Ipswich, I said it, so I like to take credit for that one, that he has the ability, at least physical ability, to be a good six, a good number six. It looks like he's settled in there pretty well. But is he so? How do I put this? I think he's done a lot better than anyone expected him to do. But then Carter, is the depth at 6 enough? Because now I know that I feel like this kind of resembles what we did last season as well, when we started off a lot better than we thought we would. And now I just don't want to get into this thing where, oh yeah, we didn't need a 6, we didn't need a center back, and then 1 or 2 injuries later, you're gonna look at it and then we're a bit exposed again. So Carter, is the depth at 6 enough? Is, as Haler said, Gravenberch the one to fill the gap there?
I think the way, if you kind of look at sort of the positions, the average positions and like passing networks you can see on Twitter, Mac was deeper. So I think for me, it's all about partnerships. It's all about who you play next to each other. Like, I think if you were to play someone who's a good passer, who's happy to receive the ball, and someone like Gravenberch or Curtis Jones next to them, who's going to go in and go and press people and drive us up the pitch and carry it, I think it's all about sort of making the balance. That's what I think Man United's big different issue is. They have no one who's good at passing. They have no one who's good defensively. And that's why people can just play through them and they can't keep the ball. So I think for us, I think Gravenberch, this is the most similar role to the one he played at Ajax. This is the one where he can sort of go, he's like the fifth attacker. Like, I think this really, really suits him. I just think, I do agree we need to sign someone. But I think Tyler Morton, if you told me we were going to sign Tyler Morton, I'd say that's a bad signing. But if he's a player through the academy, who's a good passer, who's good in possession, I think it makes sense to use him as a sort of stopgap for a year, boost up his price. I think he'll look very good in the European games against not Real Madrid, probably. But I think all the other teams, I think he could look very good in those games. I think physically they're all going to be a step down from the Premier League. You look at how Leverkusen got bullied against Atalanta. I'm sure we could do the same thing with Tyler Morton. So I think we've got enough for this season. And I know you said people didn't expect us to do well. My thing before we start the season was, if we can improve defensively, we can go as far as our individuals take us. So I am excited, but I'm not getting ahead of myself. But I think defensively looks so much better.
Yeah, that was the hope for, wasn't it? Tom, I think when we started off the season thinking that we were going to get a double pivot, we were hoping that would improve us defensively. It looked so in preseason as well. Maybe less in the Preston game that everyone kept referencing for a while. But I think we do look a bit safer, not only with the fact that we haven't conceded, but it's also the fact that I think in our first 2 matches, we've conceded something like 0.3 and 0.5 XG against Ipswich and Brentford, who aren't necessarily amazing opposition. But then last season it would have been as easy, wouldn't it? So your thoughts on that?
Yeah, definitely something structurally in the team that makes us look a lot more sound defensively. Not sure it's like an individual thing, but the setup of the team definitely looked a lot better. You know, last season when we went 1-2-0 up, seemed like every time the opposition to come back into the game, we'd allow chances. We'd just allow that momentum to come for the opposition. And there's just been no sign of that in all 3 games so far. You know, when we've gone a couple of goals up, you think that's it. Like, there's no way we're letting this go. We just look rock solid. So long may that continue. In terms of Gravenberch, yeah, he has looked brilliant. But we have played 3 awful teams so far, so you can't judge it too much. But I do like what I've seen. You know, the only thing is he's so good at carrying the ball that I think someone I think might have been Carter actually that said in the chat, like, he is a little bit wasted in the 6, if anything. Like, he is so good at driving with the ball, dribbling, his passing ability, like splitting the lines. He is so good at that. So in a way, you could argue he is wasted that, you know, that deep, but you can't complain about how he's playing at the moment. He's bossing it. So long may it continue.
Yeah, I was looking at this comment as well from Paul here in the chat saying that he feels sorry for Rashford and Casemiro. I think he's referring to. I guess that's who he refers to. Ten Hag is ruining that team. I don't know. He said it in the last 2 seasons after City. They've won the most trophies in England. So it's just, as their fans say, he inherited a very poor squad and 700 million, and 2 years later, that poor squad is still there apparently. So yeah, it's just give him more time. Honestly, I think he's the right man for the job. Give him more time. Give him another 3-year contract.
Ten Hag's at the wheel.
Yeah, I was. That's like that was stuck in my head when I heard the away end singing that yesterday. It was just stuck in my head for the rest of the day. I was, surprising myself singing "Ten Hag's at the wheel," and then lovely to see that. So Stu, I think from what you've said a bit earlier, I'm guessing you're in the same boat that I am in the sense that you think that we still needed to sign one or two more players in the summer.
Yeah.
That did not happen. In my opinion, getting Chiesa was so to me. I didn't get any sort of chance to say anything on that because wasn't on stream when that got announced. That was a very so. I think it's almost a no risk deal to get Chiesa for 13 million, but then why another winger when I feel like the frailties were at DM and at center back? So going back to Hiller's comment, then Gravenberg seems to be great at number 6 was great for these first 3 fixtures, but is that enough in the long run?
I can see the arguments for and against it already. It'll be probably the pro FSG lot who will see the fact that, Gravenberg's playing well there. Still a long season to go. Will we sign someone in January? Rumours come up that we may go back in for Zubimendi. Possibly. Is Grav the full-time replacement? I don't know. First 3 games, absolutely spot on. Can't fault him. Will he develop into a world-class number 6? I suppose only time will tell. He's still only 22, so he's got a long career ahead of him at the end of the day. Will we get another one? Do we need one? Yes, still. I'm going to say that. We do still need a DM. Will we get one? Let's see what the results are like by Christmas time in January. I think a lot will be decided then. If we are, say, in this position now, where we're still joint top of the table or fighting there or thereabouts within a couple of points, I don't think they will. But if we're a little bit further off, round about 4th or 5th, which I can't see at the moment on current performance levels. I'm not saying that we won't have a slip up somewhere, but at the moment, it's not looking likely. I think if we're hovering around that sort of Champions League qualification spot, then maybe. But I think if we're full on in like a title fight and we're doing well in the Champions League, I can't see FSG going because it's not their pattern. They haven't done that for us before when we've been in title races. So I can't see that changing. I'd like to be proved wrong, but again, I suppose only time will tell.
Yeah, it's like so for me the thing about it, and see, even when you think about it like that, if we're not struggling, we're probably not going to sign a DM. But then if we're going to end up missing the league by another 2-3 points, then you would start thinking about it again.
Which has happened. That's the thing as well.
Yeah. And for me, that was... Go ahead.
That's what makes me doubt it. Doubt whether FSG have sort of pulled the trigger on really good transfers for us before, but sometimes not at the right time, so to speak. January could be the perfect time. Like I say, we're within a couple of points of the title race. That one player could change everything, and we end up title winners at the end. But FSG don't have a history of doing that on previous experience under Klopp. Whether that will change now that Hughes and Edwards are there, I guess we'll see.
Yeah, for me, my best or my go-to argument in this type of cases when we're discussing whether we have enough depth or do we need to sign anyone else, for me it's I cannot stop thinking about the season, the 2020-21 season after we've won the league. I remember we've let Lovren go, I think, to Zenit. And then I kept thinking, okay, we have to send a center back now. And I kept on waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting, and it didn't happen. And we got into the new season, and I remember by Christmas we were first. I think Spurs were in second out of all teams when Mourinho was in there. And then the injuries started coming. And then we lost to Leicester, and then it all went downhill, and we barely made top four by the end of the season. And to me, that kind of says it. Like, to me, we've been here before, as you've said, and to me, like that's the thing that kind of worries me, is the fact that we're one or two injuries in midfield or in defense from being exposed once again, because we can't keep on relying on. I don't know. For me, it just doesn't work to keep morphing players in different positions and hope that will work, because we had to play in that season that I've mentioned. We had to play Fabinho and Henderson at some point. Those were our that was a center back pairing, and then it was Phillips and Williams. So we ended up making top four. We had a good season afterwards, of course, but it's just we seem like we've sacrificed lots of seasons, or two or three, maybe not lots, but yeah, 2 or 3 seasons where if we made 2 signings at the right time, maybe things would have turned out differently. Like even that quadruple run season, we had a lot of bad luck, to be honest. I think that Champions League final and that City Villa game at the Etihad, like I'm not gonna forget those probably my entire life. But still, you kept thinking maybe 1 or 2 more players, as you've said, Stu. But yeah, past is the past. So now we can hope that if by Christmas things are looking up, then maybe we can show some ambition.
I'll just hope, like, sort of with Edwards coming back in and Hughes now getting his feet under the table and had that first transfer window now, I'm hoping that some lessons have been learned from those mistakes if we are in that position. But the thing is, going just off this transfer window alone, I don't think I could be too harsh on Hughes and Edwards at the moment. Obviously not Edwards, but Hughes, new into the club, new management, all that sort of stuff. You have to take all that into account. And also, by the sounds of it, the Zubamendi deal was promised, and it was actually the player that just completely backflipped on us and decided no. So, yeah, I mean, Chiesa, I'm absolutely thrilled with, actually. It's a no-brainer for that amount of money in today's market, for that caliber of player who actually played pretty much all season last season as well. So fitness issues, I think, are near enough out the window. We've got 6 very, very good attackers, all players who can score goals from all sorts of positions. So I think now, especially after the United result, other teams are going to be looking at Liverpool going, okay, we're going to have to be worried about these guys again this season. So,
yeah, well, regarding Chiesa, I kept the moment I saw signing Chiesa, my mind went straight through us playing Spurs with that high line and having Nunez and Chiesa both up front. That would be a slaughter, and I can't wait to see it. But we're going to pace ourselves. There's still 2 more weeks until we get into some more Premier League action. So make sure to leave your comments as well in the chat. I've seen you've gone a bit quiet. Maybe the FSG or depth chat wasn't necessarily what we wanted to get into. I get it, because it's been very impressive what happened yesterday. But I guess the more of these moments just get your hopes up, and you might be thinking of, I don't know, improving when you kind of need to. But before we're going to get into that, I actually touched on that on the other topic. Sorry, Dion, I wanted to talk about it. I just touched on it, and that is Nunez. Now, before the season started, I said it that I think for me, this is pretty much make or break for Nunez. I think if this season he doesn't get into the squad and he doesn't start scoring lots of goals, if he doesn't start improving that finishing, whether you can do it or not, I think for me, I don't see a point to keep him. Now, obviously, that's up for debate. That's why I wanted to ask you guys. So I'm going to ask you, Tom, first. Nunez could obviously offer a lot, and I think yesterday at some point in that game, especially when I saw Jota 1-on-1, I was thinking Nunez would probably be the better player for this specific situation. So there's like moments in a game when you wish he was on, but then he can get really frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's got a lot to offer. You know, the pace and power combination you don't see barely anywhere in Europe. To be honest, you know, that's why the Haaland comparisons were kind of made, because that combination, like I said, of pace and power is very hard to find, and he obviously has that in abundance. He's obviously got the versatility. He obviously can score goals. He's shown that in the past. So there is a lot to offer. There's a lot to work with. But for me, I've always said I don't think he's technically and will ever technically be good enough to play for a team like us, a team, you know, a Champions League team, a team that wants to win titles. I just think in the biggest moments he'll let you down. He showed that at the end of last season. Like I said, I just don't think he'll ever have that technical ability to play for a top team like us. He's got the raw ability to do, you know, he's got the raw ability to work with. But yeah, for me, I just don't think he'll make it. And obviously Slot as well. He kind of plays a bit more intricate, you know, in the attacking areas, and that again isn't going to help Nunez at all. So for me, like I said, he's got a lot to work with, but I just don't think we're the right club for him. I think he's more suited to maybe a more counter-attacking type team, where obviously he's not going to be on the ball as much. He's going to be able to use that pace that he's got, which you know he's rapid. So yeah, for me, I like him. He's got a lot of raw ability, but I just don't ever see him making it at this level. I'll take him off the bench. If he's happy to be a bench option, then that's fine. I'm happy for him to be a squad option, but as the main number 9, not for me. I don't think he'll ever be good enough.
Yeah, I do agree, and I think signs are not necessarily positive for him going forward, because he did play really. He didn't really play a lot of minutes, and even when he did, when he got on the pitch against Brentford again, he had a good chance. He was offside, of course he was, but even so, he didn't really take that. He just kind of missed the ball when the cross came to him. So then again, you'd feel like that's more of what we've seen in the past few seasons. I kept on thinking about Nunez in the first season that he played for us. So I kept on thinking that as soon as he gets that raw finishing turned into something a bit more composed, we're going to be unstoppable. But then Carter, it seems like it's just not happening for him. And again, if he doesn't get to, you know, score consistently this season, and if he doesn't show an improvement, then is he worth keeping?
I think the thing for me right now, and obviously I'm not Slot, I haven't spoken to him, I don't know. I think Slot's looked at our current team with Andy Robertson at left back and with McAllister being the controller, who they aren't, I think, optimal for those roles. I think he's gone, I can't have Nunez because we already haven't really had that much control. And if you put Nunez up there, although some games last season he was unbelievable, I think there's so many goals where he was like the assist to the assist, or he sort of made it with his hold-up play or he's running in behind. I think Slot's gone, I'm going to be safe, because if he puts Nunez on and the ball doesn't stick and we have 1 or 2 bad games instead of winning all 3, what happens with Slot? Like, Slot's under all this pressure. So I think Slot's made the safe decision. And I think if we got someone like Inacio to play left back, if we got Varela, Zubamendi, and we just absolutely dominated games, it balances out having Nunez, who sometimes the ball isn't going to stick. And I think when you see Nunez and when you see Jota play, I do sometimes think when we're attacking, how much higher our ceiling would be if it was Nunez. Like, I almost felt Salah and Diaz were there and Jota was here, and he couldn't really break out ahead. And if you have Nunez there, you make more space for Szoboszlai, you make more space for Gravenberch, you just drag people. And I also think that gives, if we're playing Man City or Real Madrid, if you have Nunez, there's that much more space for McAllister, there's that much more space for Gravenberch, there's that much more space for Trent, because every player has to follow back with Nunez. So I think if we can just get him to work, if we can sort out a few things, I think it'd be perfect. But if he doesn't work, I do understand the point of he's going to have a bit of baggage eventually. Like, every time he misses, it's going to be a big groan. He might just have to move team for him to work. A bit like Marcus Rashford now at United. Super talented player. Sometimes you just need to leave. And I think with someone like João Pedro at Brighton, who looks like he's about to maybe take a step to being one of the best forwards in the world, I think is something we've got to consider.
João Pedro, one of the best forwards in the world. That's not a shout that I was thinking about.
Best all-round striker in the Premier League by a mile at the moment, although he's playing 10, I'd say.
Well, that's one of those Carter opinions that we love to have here on stream. Yeah. Well, to be honest, I kind of agreed with some. Like I said it in the summer. I said that I would sell Diaz to get Gordon, and that's kind of absolutely blew in my face. But love to get proven wrong. If I get proven wrong by you scoring a brace at Old Trafford, then I'm taking it. That's all the best.
I've got to think about Nunez as well, right? I was thinking about this the other day. So, obviously, the internationals over the summer period meant everybody came back at a staggered amount of time, which also meant that Slot hasn't had the same amount of time with Nunez to work on the training pitch as with some of the other players, especially the youngsters who came back earlier. This international ban that he's got could be a little bit of a blessing in disguise, because he's not going to be going anywhere. Slot now has a 2 week, well, just less than a 2 week period to work with him a little bit more, and maybe start getting that ball, pardon the pun, ball rolling, and try to mold Nunez into some sort of player that he can actually use and rely on in the team. And maybe we get to see the striker that we paid £85 million for. That hurts to say a little bit at the moment, because he hasn't justified that price tag, nowhere near it. But I think these next couple of weeks are going to be critical, especially on the training pitch. I think if Slot can do something with him then we'll start to see what can come along.
Indeed. And yeah, so it just doesn't look that good for him, because when I'm looking at the squad, I'm thinking if we're thinking centrally, yeah, he's not ahead of Jota. If we're looking off on the left, he's not ahead of Diaz or Cody Gakpo for me. So yeah, as Paul said, Slot will give Nunez some chances in the future. Yeah. We're gonna have some more Champions League games, which will kind of work in his favor. We're gonna have I was thinking we're gonna have some maybe easier opposition, because I was thinking we're gonna play two teams from path 3 and 4, but then our run in the Champions League doesn't really look that appealing. But at the end of the day, Nunez got a bit of trust from that Europa League run last season. I think he's played some teams where he scored 2-3 goals, not 3 but 2 goals per game at least in a few situations. So that's all you could really you could hope for. So
could I just really quickly ask you guys, if we were playing Real Madrid in the Champions League final tomorrow, who would you start up top, Nunez or Jota? I think you'd have to pick Nunez. In my opinion, I think you'd have to pick him.
I would go Jota.
Jota all day. In a final, you need someone to. If the chance falls, so you need someone to bury it. I don't want it falling to Nunez.
I would say Jota at the moment just edges it for reliability, but I understand why Carter's picking Nunez just for that sheer power and pace that he's got against it. It could work. It's a long season ahead at the end of the day.
Yeah, no, my thinking on it was that if you would be in that, it doesn't matter if it's the Champions League final or what, if it's an important game that you need to win, and if there's like a trophy at stake or something like that, even if it's a final or like a Premier League final game of the season or anything like that, I would go Jota mainly because I think that the game in that conditions will probably be pretty closed off, and I think we wouldn't get lots of chances, and I would want to have someone that takes the chance if it ever comes to it. Like, I think Jota, I couldn't see him miss. I've seen him before, but I couldn't see him miss 2 big chances in the same game for at least for me.
But is he going to
Nunez-
get two big chances in the same game? That's my thing. Is Nunez? There's times where I think where Jota gets the ball, and I'm like, Nunez would have had a chance there, or Nunez could have got onto that, or Nunez maybe drags more players away. That's why my thing is Nunez, although he might miss, he'll get 6 chances, whereas Jota will get 2, and it just depends who you're going to back.
So I kind of get as I said yesterday, I think we had a chance at some point where Jota was a bit towards the left, and he, instead of cutting inside and just taking it, on like his interior, as Nunez would have probably done, and I was already seeing that in my mind. He just tried to dribble and lost the possession, whatever. So I think in situations where it's a 1v1, where it's about the pace, about a quick dribble, I would have Nunez in those situations. But I'm thinking if it's a close-off game and there's like this chance that the cross comes in, our forward gets like a bit of space between 2 defenders, the chance falls right then and there. Who's going to put it in the back of the net? And that's why I just can't think of having Nunez ahead of Jota for that exact reason. So that's kind of my reasoning. But as I said, in some situations I get why you'd rather have Nunez there. So yeah. So I think we are going to leave it there for tonight. So I'm gonna thank everyone who's tuned in. Thanks to Stu, to Tom, to Carter for the chat, and thanks for being here tonight. Thanks for everyone in the chat as well. Thanks for liking, subscribing to the channel. Make sure to tune in pretty much every evening, 7:30 UK time, and sometimes even during international break. And sometimes, for the post-match stream, when we're going to have that when the Premier League starts again. So thanks again to everyone. And until tomorrow, then Arne Slot, or whatever you want to sing. Both work. Have a good evening.